Back when I first started working on reviews for BGG, one of my first games I ever reviewed, actually the very first one, was Lords of Xidit. Probably one of my favorite games that I've ever played. I can't hype this game up enough. It's a great remake of an older game called Himalaya. I never played the original, but this one has just such great flair to it. It's imaginative in its color and art style choices. It's very, very vibrant. It's highly dependent on who you're playing with, and it doesn't allow you to make too many mistakes, but it does allow you enough to make mistakes and still have a fun time. And it's going to change every time you play it. It's probably just one of those games that I'm going to keep forever and play with everybody I can. So, without any further words, I'm going to go right into the component review. Alright, so we're going to talk about the components of Lords of Xidit here. This is amazing, simply amazing. Look at this. You get a map to the realm here of Xidit that gives you kind of a nice idea of what it looks like in a very artistic way. It's kind of superfluous, but it's totally awesome, and you could frame that and put it out on your wall. The rulebook is very colorful, very easy to understand, and absolutely marvelous at explaining every little detail that you could about every game mode in this game. Since it's designed for 3 to 5 players, it gives you a pretty good rundown of how to play for the 4 and 5 player game. But in the back here, you're going to have all the rules for how to play with the AI opponent for a 3-player game, which are laid out very, very nicely. Not to mention, they have our nice little advertisements for seasons on the back, which if you have not played that, I totally recommend trying that, as it is in the same universe as this. Alright, fair warning, this board is huge. It is big, elaborate, and colorful. If I can even get it all out on the table here. It's a big map for a pretty big game. Now up here you'll have all the working bits of your game, a chest to put all the gold bits, monsters and armies will go up here, your titans will go up here, and the various goals that people are competing for will go up here. And then the little army guys will go up here. The rest of the map is dedicated for the movement. As you move around the map, you'll be choosing these colored routes, going to the numbered cities to defeat either the monsters or gain troops from the armies that are laid out there. As you defeat things, you'll gain wizards' towers, which have to go in these very specific spots with the dotted lines. You'll gain bard song, which you get to put in the adjacent regions, and whoever has the most of that will control the bards of that region. And overall, it's just a very, very beautiful design, and they even put artwork on the back for people who want to make it look extra pretty. So that is a very nice, sturdy cardboard. Alright, so it's a pretty basic idea that I'm not a very big fan of Risk, but these colored guys are just almost overproduction for this game. You could have replaced them with chips, you could have replaced them with just about any other cardboard component, but they went full out and sculpted these intricate little guys that are going to amass, into your armies, and you're going to be using these to defeat the various monsters in the world. These guys are also used for a census phase, which also can give you distinct advantages when you're trying to complete the game and get the most points for various things in the world. I absolutely adore these components. They are pretty good plastic, they have a little bit of lean to them, and none of them have very many drooping weapons or armor or anything that seems off about them. So here's our little mage guy. These are very important as there's pretty much the rarest guys out there. You're going to use these to help you construct wizard towers during the census, and also defeat certain types of powerful monsters. These are your clerics. These guys give you some benefits in the census, but not nearly as much as the wizard, as those guys give you a tower. These guys will give you more bard songs throughout the world. They are also used to defeat other monsters. You've got your warriors. These are your heavy militia guys. These guys give you one minor bard song whenever you have most of them during the census phase. They are also used for taking out monsters, of course. And then you have your common folk and your archers, your farmers and archers. Now, the farmers are pretty much the most common unit, and every city will start with them, and the archers are pretty much right behind them. But again, lots of monsters kind of need both of these guys in order to be defeated. So, as you can tell, these guys have some pretty awesome detail work on them. They do not bend very easily, and nothing sags, which is great. However, I really, really wish that the cardboard pieces that were used to represent the players were like this. Okay, so this is what I call your kind of various cardboard bits that you'll be using. These represent your gold tokens that you'll be using to determine who will actually win the game based on the number of towers, how much gold they've amassed, or how influential they are with the bards. Also, you will have a very nice, pretty first player token that will travel around the board to the next player. And you'll have a number of these titans, which will be difficulties 3, 4, and 5, and all feature a unique character to them. Even though they have similar payouts to monsters, these can be attacked and defeated anywhere on the map where you're not in a city or amassing any troops. You will also have these little cover-ups for the board that will cover up much of the bard songs of that area when you're playing with the lesser amount of players. So in a 4-player game, or if, I believe a 3-player game, you'll actually use these to represent a smaller board area. And this way you get to look at the artwork without actually seeing the bards. You'll also have a little token here, nice solid wood, that represents what year it is in the game as it's played over a series of rounds, usually about 12. Now the game provides enough baggies where every player should get their own color of unit here, where they will have various towers, their influential bard song tokens, and their player token. These also come with their victory trackers, which there are 3 of them to track the various numbers that you have on the goals in the game, such as how many towers you have, or how influential you are, or how much money you have for the end scoring. And when you're done, you'll actually flip over people who have been eliminated from the round. That way you find out ultimately who won overall during the final assessment. These also come with a little arrow token, which will go with your player board to help you show that you've already done that action. And you'll just put that on top to represent that you have done that and are ready to move on to the next and to the next until you've completed the turn and everyone has taken their first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth actions. Now these dials are really simple to construct and are made of very nice plastic and cardboard. They have your various actions such as inaction, picking up units or defeating monsters, and then traveling on the routes based on the color. And you'll be picking out 6 of these actions to do simultaneously with the other players and resolving them all in turn order. So everyone, starting with the first player, you're going to start with your 1s, go around the table, and then everyone's going to take their 2s, then 3s, until everyone's had their turns taken. Everything in here is very solid, very nice, very colorful and vibrant. My only concern is with the player token. It's just a bit of cardboard on a plastic stand, which doesn't quite come up to snuff with the army tokens, but I can understand why they made this choice, as it is easier to see who's who, and also it would mean, a certain number of sculpts would have to be made for each unit. So I like how this works out, and they give you plenty of baggies to put everything in. So each player will also come with these little player shields that will help you hide your various money and units, because those are kept secret. In this game, money is secret, Bard Song is semi-secret, and the towers are pretty much open information for scoring. So that kind of gives you a good idea of where you stand, but not a very good one towards the end game where you've kind of maybe forgotten to keep up with the Joneses on the department. So this game is mostly about trying to round yourself off and be good in anything until that last one in which you want to be the best. So here's a little bank that goes on the board as well. It's got the Bard songs up there. You'll actually slide the little cardboard tokens into here to hide the final scoring. It's also worth the most, and it's going to be pretty full by the time you're done playing, hopefully. Included with the game are also a number of different coin tokens from 2, 1, and 4, or 2, 1, and 5 it seems. These are just standard cardboard chips that you punch out and are worth money value towards the game. You don't use money for anything other than scoring points, so this could have easily been replaced with other things, but since they're not really handled very often, you're probably not going to want to replace these because they're functional for what they do and serviceable for that, and they stack relatively nicely as well based on their denomination. I could understand people wondering why this game would include money at all, but it's like you need some sort of chip in order to represent that. So that's kind of what you need to do, and keep your money hidden and use these little tokens to represent how much you've earned in the game. Okay, so these discs represent the monsters and the troops that will be in different cities. As you can tell, each of them has a little number there that represents the city that they go onto, as well as what units will be put on there when you're trying to amass the units. And then when all the units are off of there, they'll get flipped over and put into a pool where they will later become monsters, which can be defeated using those various various units, and will also pay out rewards that will help you win the game. So whenever you defeat a monster, you have to pay its cost, and then you get to choose only 2 of the rewards. So in this case, I could take 4 money and 3 towers, or 2 Bard songs to put in the various influences of there. And this is really unique and elegant, the way that when you defeat a monster, it's going to go and later become a troop later on. And when you get enough troops off of this, it's going to go on and later become a monster. And you'll always know what the next 2 of these are, so you'll be able to predict, based on which ones are coming and going, where your optimal plays are going to be if somebody else hasn't already taken them from you. Now, there's 2 types of these tiles here. One for the 4 and 5 player game, and one for a less player count, I believe, for the 3 player game, and possibly for the 4 player game as well. I don't know, because I've never really had to utilize those very often. So consult your rulebook for that. Alright, so just to give you a feel and comparison of the 2 discs, there is a little king crown on the bottom of this that covers up the 5th spot. This is basically the only difference between the 2. The monsters will have similar payouts. If I can actually find the proper number for 12 and 12, I believe they're fairly similar, if not exactly the same, with just one missing bit. Nope, actually they are completely different. So the game will actually change up depending on your player count. So when you have the lower player count, you're going to see a different variety of monsters to deal with. So I'd say go ahead and try different player counts, because this game is really about repeat plays with similar players and then introducing new players to really throw up the game, to change how people interact with each other, and to really change strategies from game to game. Now, thankfully, this game has enough randomosity in the setup where these tiles, some of them you might see fairly commonly, other times you might not see them at all. So that really kind of changes the topography of the map every time you play, keeping it fresh. Okay, and last as always is the optional bits of cardboard here. You have a time track that you can put on the map to represent a shorter game, giving you only a 9-turn game instead of 12 if you're kind of in a rush. They're dual-sided so you don't mess up. And over here you also have your AI board for a 3-player game. Now, usually this is used to simulate a 4th player, but you will not actually be having a 4th player on the board at all, and he will have his own unique scores, and his scores will be tracked on this little sheet. They will start at random locations based on what the players want. Usually it's going to be something like a 5, a 4, and a 6. And then every time you defeat a monster, you're actually going to choose which one of these goes up. So this is kind of going to force your other opponents, as these go up, to have that number, or at least beat that threshold, or beat another player, in order to achieve victory at the end of the game. I haven't had it happen, but usually a lot of the times you're going to see one of the minor stats get kind of bumped up, and hopefully the other ones that eliminate it first get out there. But of course, if you're playing smartly, you're going to use this to try to maybe bump off one of your opponents before they can get up to the final judgments. So that's kind of an interesting way to play the game. I highly recommend this for any player count from that 3 to 5 range. This is probably one of my favorite implements of an AI I've ever seen in a game, and it works absolutely fantastic. And this game was also nice enough to send you a little instructional sheet to help you set up your little cardboard tower and how to assemble the player aids. So there's not a lot to worry about that. Once you have that set up, you can pretty much throw this away, but I keep it around just for kicks. This game is amazing. It's just simply well designed. It's well thought out. The only little niggling thing I have about it is the player tokens, but that's totally understandable based on the production quality. Anything more, this game would be flying up for a bit of price. It costs about $60 right now retail, which is a perfect price point for such a large game, especially with this component quality. Now, I've gone on about the components, but the gameplay itself is just beautiful. Everything works elegantly. The entire game is just this constant battle between your wits and your fellow players as you're trying to make the most optimal move, but they're also trying to do their most optimal move. So you start double guessing, and then you start triple guessing each other, and it just goes totally insane. You're going to go around the board, be like Gandalf, trying to summon the forces of good to defeat all these monsters and become famous. Now, Seasons had a similar idea where you're trying to become the best mage. This one is definitely expanding on that. So if you're looking for a game that's playing from Seasons into a sequel type game, this is a great idea. But for a standalone, it is perfect. It is a lightweight game that is just heavy enough to really give you a good challenge just because of the number of times you're going to play it and the people you play it with. I played this game with 3 players, 4 players, 5 players, and each time it's been different and unique. I love the AI interpretation in this game because it allows you to force your opponents to keep an eye on not only you but this AI player, and it's a great leveraging mechanic to make sure that the game keeps going and that everyone's constantly pressured to do well. And that's pretty much the whole idea of the game. It's not about how high a score you get, it's just about how well you do above other people. It does matter, but it's totally based on everyone making mistakes together. The more mistakes that happen, the more possibilities there are that you will be able to use those to your advantage. Maybe you'll get units that you didn't consider getting. I mean, it's a lot like trying to go and do something but finding someone's already done it. It does kind of hurt you, but it shouldn't hurt the game at all because there's so many options once you get those. It's really kind of ridiculous. You're always adapting, always having to move, and you've always got to make those 6 moves as best as you can, trying to play off of your opponents. I gave this game a very solid rating on BoardGameGeek. I believe I gave it about a 7.25. And, you know, I'm going to hold with that and probably still go even higher than that. According to the BoardGameGeek rating system, this is about an 8 or a 9 for me because easily this is a game, whenever I get offered to play, I am going to. And I'm going to take this around to new players or old players and introduce them to this game, show them the elegance of the design, the beautiful artwork, and just the awesome randomosity that can be this setup for the game that ultimately really depends on how you do as a well-rounded wizard and also how they are doing for well-rounded wizardry as well. So go check this out and enjoy Lords of Xidit.